You won't believe what happened after a racist woman wouldn't let a black man into a hotel. The Golden Coast Hotel. The Golden Coast Hotel was located in a small but picturesque town located on the coast. It was famous for its comfort, magnificent ocean views, and high level of service. The hotel was built at the beginning of the 20th century and had its own history, which was passed down from generation to generation. The atmosphere inside the hotel was warm and cozy, and the staff was ready to do everything possible to make the guests feel comfortable. A woman named Laura worked at the reception. She was an experienced employee who had worked at the hotel for more than 10 years. During this time, Laura managed to become a real part of the team, but she had one problem: a preconceived opinion about people of a different race. Laura felt that some of the guests did not deserve her attention and respect. This bias, although hidden, affected her work and relationships with clients. Michael's arrival. One day, a black man named Michael came to the hotel. He was a famous writer, the author of several bestsellers, who came to the city to hold an autograph session for his new book. Michael was full of hope and expectation. He dreamed about how his book would inspire people and how he would be able to communicate with his readers. When Michael approached the reception desk, Laura looked at him with a displeased expression. She looked at his clothes simple but stylish and concluded that he could not be an important client. "I'm sorry, but we don't have any rooms available," she said in a cold tone. Michael was surprised. He booked the room online in advance and even received an email confirmation. He tried to explain this to Laura, but she just waved him off. "I checked the system. There is no reservation in your name. You'd better look for another hotel," she said with obvious disdain. Michael felt anger rising inside him. He wasn't used to being treated like this and wasn't going to just give up. He tried to explain the situation again, but Laura persisted. Guests' displeasure. The situation attracted the attention of other hotel guests who began to whisper and wonder. Some of them tried to step in and support Michael, but Laura remained adamant. She didn't even try to check the booking information. At that moment, the hotel manager, Mr. Johnson, appeared in the lobby. He noticed the tension in the air and approached the reception desk. "What's the matter? What is it?" he asked, turning to Laura. Laura, unwilling to admit her mistake, tried to justify herself. "This person claims that he has a reservation, but I don't see it in the system." Mr. Johnson looked at Michael and noticed his displeasure. He realized that something was wrong and decided to figure it out. After quickly checking the booking system, he found that the room was indeed booked in Michael's name. "Laura," he said with displeasure, "this is unacceptable. We must treat all guests with respect." Laura blushed with shame. She understood that her bias was the reason for this situation. Having gathered her thoughts with difficulty, she looked at Michael and said, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Please accept my apologies." Michael, although disappointed by her behavior, saw genuine remorse in her eyes. He replied, "I understand that sometimes people can make mistakes. It's important to learn from your mistakes. Friendship and understanding." After this incident, Laura decided to change her attitude towards people. She began to work on herself and tried to be more open and friendly. She even asked Michael for a meeting after his autograph session to talk and learn more about his life and experiences. Michael agreed. In the evening, after the autograph session, they met in a cozy cafe near the hotel. Laura was nervous. She was embarrassed by her behavior. But when they started talking, she realized that Michael was an amazing man with a wealth of life experience. "I grew up in difficult circumstances," Michael began to tell. "My family has always faced prejudice and injustice, but I've learned to overcome difficulties and find inspiration in every day." Laura listened to him with interest. She had never thought about what it would be like to live in a world of bias and discrimination. "I've always dreamed of becoming a writer," Michael continued. "Writing has given me the opportunity to express my thoughts and feelings. Laura felt a deep respect for Michael for his steadfastness and determination. She told him about her life, how she worked at the hotel, and why she could sometimes be biased. "I know it's wrong," she confessed, "but I grew up in an environment where such views were the norm. I want to change my attitude." Michael nodded with understanding. "It is important to be aware of your biases and work on them. We can all change and grow." Their conversation continued far into the night. They discussed books, art, and life in general. This was Laura's first sincere conversation with someone from another race, and she felt liberated from her previous prejudices. New beginnings. Since then, Laura has been actively working on herself. She became more open to communicating with different people and tried to understand their stories. She even enrolled in intercultural communication courses to better understand people from different cultures. Michael continued to come to the city to meet with his readers. Each time he stayed at the Gold Coast, where he was always welcomed as a dear friend. Laura tried to do everything possible for his comfortable stay. One day, they decided to organize a joint event at the hotel, an evening of reading Michael's works for hotel guests and local residents. It was a new experience for Laura. It was her first time organizing such an event. The reading evening was great. The guests were delighted with Michael's story about fighting for his dreams and overcoming difficulties. Laura watched the reactions of the people. They laughed and cried with Michael. After the event, Laura approached him. "You were amazing. I've never seen people so engrossed in listening to someone." Michael smiled. "Thank you. It's all thanks to your support. You made this evening special." Laura felt proud of her work and for being able to change her attitude towards people. Overcoming bias. Over time, Laura became one of the most valuable employees of the hotel. She has learned to see people for who they are and not through the prism of her prejudices. Her attitude to work has changed. She has become more attentive to every guest. One day, a group of tourists from all over the world came to the hotel. One of them was a South African woman named Zina. She was an artist and was looking for inspiration for her new works. When Zina approached the reception, Laura immediately remembered her experience with Michael and decided to approach this communication differently. "Hello, how can I help you today?" she asked with a sincere smile. Zina was pleasantly surprised by such a warm welcome. "Hello. I've booked a room for a few days and would like to learn about the local attractions." Laura quickly checked the booking information and confirmed the availability of the room. Then she offered Zina a map of the city with marked places of interest. "If you need anything else or tips on places for inspiration, just let me know," she added enthusiastically. Zina smiled. "Thank you very much. It's very nice." Laura felt the joy of being able to help someone without prejudice or stereotypes. Friendship lessons. Over time, the friendship between Laura and Michael strengthened. They continued to meet regularly, discussing books and life in general. Laura even started reading Michael's works and sharing her impressions of them. One day, they decided to hold a joint master class for the youth of the city on the topic of combating bias through the art of speech. They wanted to show young people the importance of respecting everyone regardless of their race or background. The master class gathered many participants. The youth were interested in discussing such important topics. Laura shared her experience of working on herself and talked about how important it is to be aware of your biases. Michael also inspired young people to write their stories and share them with the world. "Each of you has a unique experience. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Your words can change someone's life." The participants actively asked questions and shared their thoughts. The atmosphere was filled with the energy of understanding and support. Events on the horizon. A few months after the master class, Laura learned about the upcoming literature festival in the neighboring city. She invited Michael to participate in this event as a speaker. "This is a great opportunity to share your stories with more people," she said enthusiastically. Michael agreed to participate and even invited Laura to speak with him as moderator of a discussion about overcoming bias through the art of speech. Laura was excited about the idea. "I never thought that I would be able to speak at such an event, but I'm ready to try." They began to prepare for the festival together. They discussed topics for discussion, rehearsed their performances, and took notes. It was the day of the festival, and they arrived at the venue. The atmosphere was exciting. Many people gathered around the book stands and waited for the discussions to begin. When the time came for their performance, Laura felt a surge of adrenaline. She came on stage next to Michael and looked at the audience. There were a lot of them. Inspiration for others. The performance was successful. Laura talked about her way of overcoming bias and how important it is to open up to new ideas and people. Michael shared his stories about fighting for his dreams and overcoming difficulties in life as a Black writer. After the performance, many people came up to them thanking them for their inspiration and support. Many shared their stories about overcoming bias or stereotypes in their lives. "You have changed my perception," said one young girl with tears in her eyes. "I've always been afraid to talk about my feelings because of what others will think." Laura smiled at her. "It's important to be yourself. Don't let anyone limit your personality." That night was a turning point for Laura. She realized that her work mattered not only to herself, but also to many other people around her. Returning home. Returning home after the festival, Laura felt inspired. She understood that her life had changed thanks to her friendship with Michael and the experience of communicating with different people. She decided to continue her work on herself and help others open up to the world without prejudice. Every day she tried to become a better person. She communicated with new people, participated in intercultural interaction events, and even started blogging about her experiences and life lessons. Michael also continued to write new books and inspire his readers to make changes in their lives through the art of words. Their friendship has become a symbol of how one can overcome biases and build bridges between cultures through understanding and openness to other people. Conclusion. The Golden Coast Hotel has become a place not only for tourists to relax, but also a platform for people from different cultures to communicate and share experiences. Thanks to Laura and Michael's efforts, there was an atmosphere of respect and support. The story of their friendship became an example of how to overcome biases and build bridges between cultures through understanding and openness to other people. Each new guest became an opportunity for them to create a unique story of friendship and mutual understanding. And although the path was not easy, they knew one thing. Everyone can change their perception of the world. It is only necessary to take the first step towards another person. Chapter 1. New Horizons. It's been a few months since the Literature Festival, which was a turning point for both Laura and Michael. Their friendship grew stronger day by day. They became real partners in working on projects to improve intercultural interaction in their city. Laura realized the importance of her new approach to life. She no longer looked at people through the lens of stereotypes. Now she was genuinely interested in their stories. One morning, Laura was sitting at a table in a Gold Coast cafe, browsing through emails on her laptop. Suddenly, she received a message from a local university. They were looking for speakers for a conference on cross-cultural interactions. She had an idea in her head. Why not offer to perform with Michael? This could be a great opportunity to share your experience of overcoming prejudice with young people. She quickly wrote a reply letter. "Good afternoon. I would like to suggest 2 speakers for your conference. Me, Laura, and my friend, Michael. We both have experience working on cross-cultural topics and will be happy to share our stories." After sending the letter, Laura felt a surge of excitement. She knew that this could be a new step in their joint activities. Chapter 2. Preparation for the conference. When Laura met with Michael later that day to discuss their participation in the conference, he was pleased to hear the news. This is a great opportunity. We will be able to tell our listeners about how important it is to understand each other regardless of cultural differences, he said enthusiastically. They began planning their speech. They discussed the key points of their stories that could be most useful for university students. Each of them prepared their own notes. They also decided to include interactive elements, such as small group discussions after their presentation. Laura felt confident. She knew her story by heart now, thanks to a lot of thinking about it lately. Her life was changed by the experience of communicating with people of different cultures. She wanted to share this experience with everyone who wanted to hear her story. Chapter 3. The Conference. The day of the conference arrived. The atmosphere was tense. Students gathered in the large hall of the university, waiting for the start of the event. Laura dressed neatly. She chose a bright sea green dress. The color symbolized openness to new ideas and communication. When it came time to go on stage, her heart was pounding with excitement. They went out together. The audience greeted them with applause. Laura felt a surge of confidence. She knew that this was the moment when they could do something significant for other people. Michael began his speech. Hello, everyone. Today we are here to talk about the importance of understanding each other regardless of cultural differences. Laura listened to him attentively. His confident voice filled the hall with the energy of understanding and support. After he finished his part of the presentation, it was Laura's turn to share her story. I want to tell you about the path of overcoming bias that I went through thanks to my friendship with Michael. She talked about the incident at the Gold Coast Hotel and how her preconceived attitude had changed through talking to Michael. Her words resonated with many listeners. She saw their interested faces and understanding in their eyes. After their presentation, they held interactive discussions with the conference participants. Students shared their stories about biases or stereotypes from their lives. It became a real exchange of experience. Chapter 4. The Path of Change. After the conference, many students approached them with thanks for their inspiration and support. They wanted to learn more about how to change their perception of the world around them. One girl named Sarah came up to them. Thank you very much. I've never thought about how my own biases affect my perception of other people. Laura smiled at her. The main thing is the desire to change. You've already taken the first step just by realizing it. Michael added, each of us can become an agent of change in our environment. It is important to share our stories. This conference marked the beginning of a new phase of their work on intercultural interaction projects. They began receiving invitations to similar events all over the city. Chapter 5. Expanding Horizons. With each new event, their popularity grew. They began organizing workshops on intercultural interaction, not only at the university, but also at schools in the city. They worked to create a training program for young people on the importance of respecting differences between cultures through the art of speech. Laura decided to take responsibility for organizing these events. She liked planning every detail, from choosing a venue to inviting speakers with similar views on the importance of intercultural communication. One day, they received an invitation to conduct a masterclass for a group of teenagers from disadvantaged areas of the city. This was especially important for both of them. They knew that these young people could face great difficulties due to their life circumstances. Chapter 6. A Masterclass for Young People. When the day of the masterclass came, Laura felt excited. She understood the responsibility of this moment for teenagers. They needed to show the importance of mutual understanding among different cultural groups. The workshop was held at a local youth center. The teenagers were a little wary at first. They didn't know what to expect from this meeting. Michael started the conversation. Hello, everyone. We are here today to talk about how important it is to understand each other, regardless of our background or skin color. He told his story about how his life had changed thanks to writing. He shared the difficulties he had to overcome in order to achieve his goals. The teenagers listened to him attentively. Many of them could see themselves in his words. Then it was Laura's turn. I want to tell you about the moment when I realized that my own biases prevented me from seeing people as they are. She shared her experience at the Gold Coast. The teenagers started asking questions. The atmosphere gradually became more relaxed. They began to open up to each other. Chapter 7. Building a Community. After the master class, teenagers approached them with words of gratitude. Many of them admitted that they had never thought about these issues before. Now they wanted to change. Laura was happy to see such changes among the youth. She understood that their work was bearing fruit. It was just the beginning of a long journey of changes in the minds of the younger generation. With each new event, their popularity grew. Soon they became known not only in their city, but also abroad. They began receiving invitations to conduct master classes even in other countries. Chapter 8. New Challenges. However, with increasing popularity came new challenges. They had to face criticism from some people who considered their approach too radical or unnecessary. One day, during one of the meetings, someone from the audience raised his hand. Why do you think it's necessary to talk about these things? People should just live their lives without unnecessary conversations. Laura felt the tension in the air. She needed to respond in a way that conveyed the importance of these conversations to everyone. We're talking about this because silence only makes the problem worse. If we don't talk about respecting each other, nothing will change. Michael added, each of us can become a voice of change. If we remain silent, we will achieve nothing. These words helped to lighten the atmosphere. Many participants began to actively discuss this topic. It was important. Chapter 9. Friends Forever. Over time, their friendship only grew stronger. They became real partners not only at work, but also friends outside of it. One evening, after a long day of events, they decided to meet at their favorite cafe, the Golden Coast, to discuss their plans for the future. I think we should try to organize a cultural festival in our city. It'll be a great opportunity to unite people of different nationalities, Laura suggested. Michael thought about it. That's a great idea. We can invite artists from different countries to show the diversity of cultures. They started planning the details of the festival, choosing a date, a place, and inviting artists. It was exciting. Chapter 10. The Festival of Cultures. The day of the festival came. The city was filled with music, laughter, and food flavors from all over the world. People gathered together to celebrate the diversity of cultures. Laura felt proud that they were able to organize such an event. It was proof that their work was bearing fruit. Michael spoke to the audience telling his story. People listened to him with bated breath. After his performance, the artists began performing, dancing, music, colorful costumes. Everyone was happy. The festival became a real celebration of unity among differences. People communicated, got to know each other, and exchanged experiences. Chapter 11. Successes. After the festival, their work continued. They received a lot of positive feedback from the participants. Many people said that the festival had changed their perception of the culture of other nations. Laura decided to write an article about this event for a local newspaper. She wanted to share her experience of organizing the festival to inspire others to do similar things. Michael also decided to write a new book based on their collaboration. He wanted to show people how important it is to understand each other regardless of their background. Chapter 12. The Way Forward. With each new project, their friendship only became stronger. They supported each other in all their endeavors. Their work filled every minute of their lives with meaning. Laura realized that her life had changed thanks to her friendship with Michael. Now she could look at the world with different eyes. Every new day brought new opportunities for the growth of understanding of love. They knew one thing. Together they could change the world around them. Thus, the story continues to develop through various events that unite the characters. Each new endeavor becomes a step forward towards a better future where people can live in harmony regardless of differences.